Welcome to Jill Sand Consulting. Today we're going to take a look at the half series and our sun salutations. So we might start ourselves off with our child's pose, allowing those hips to come back towards the heels as we extend our arms forward, letting the head come down towards the mat. We feel that extension through the hands, noticing that our thumbs are no more than 2 to 4 inches apart. Finding some breaths here. And then with our inhale, we come forward into our plank on our knees. The shoulders go past the wrists. The hips are a nice strong formation. With our exhale, we're going to lower down crocodile, hovering above the ground if we can. Our elbows are in tight towards the body. And then from here, we'll let that belly come down and open through the chest for our cobra, lifting through the chin and keeping those elbows back to allow the shoulders to start to open as well. The shoulder blades come together. As we exhale, we'll push on back into our child's pose. Let's practice this again as we use our inhale to come forward into our plank on our knees. Exhale, lower down crocodile. Inhale, opening to our cobra. Exhaling as we push back into our child's pose. Finding our breath here, we can repeat that several times, starting to warm up the body, staying on the knees if that's our choice. If we'd like to, we might curl those toes under, leaving them right where they are on the mat, and then bring the hips up towards the ceiling. As we exhale, we release those heels towards the mat. Slide those hips towards the back of the room and let those ears come right between our biceps. This is our downward facing dog. Now with our inhale, we'll come into that plank once more as the shoulders ride past those wrists. The hips are nice and strong. Exhale, lower down crocodile, keeping those elbows in, again hovering. We might flip those toes and then lift up into our upward facing dog, opening through the chest. No strain through those shoulders. Exhale, we come back into our downward facing dog as we take those hips behind us and let those heels relax towards the mat. We might practice this a few times as well. As we inhale to plank, exhale, lower down crocodile. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, down dog. After practicing several of those, we might walk our feet forward and come into a forward fold. Using that exhale to sink the chest to the tops of those legs, the head, neck, shoulder comes down towards the floor. We might even take our hands to our elbows to feel that nice extension through the low back. Breathing here and hanging out as long as we want to. When we're ready to come up, we bring our gaze forward. That helps our equilibrium. Taking our hands to our thighs, we might press those hips back for monkey. Our shoulders are relaxed in our monkey pose. Breathing here. And then as we exhale, we might bend those knees, touching the fingers to the floor. Inhale, bring ourselves all the way up to our mountain, taking our hands into our hearts. Using that inhale to lift tall through the spine. Exhale, roll those shoulders back, away from the ears. Find our breath here. We're preparing ourselves for our half series and our sun salutations now. So that's going to heat up the body a little bit. So from this moment on, we're going to use that breath to move those poses. Let's inhale those arms up to our mountain, palms face each other. Exhale, swan dive and forward fold. We can take our hands to the mat and step our left leg back as we come into a lunge. Now, right now, we're going to practice with the knees on the mat. So we'll take that knee down, uncurl that back toe, and then walk those hands up that front leg as we reach up to our warrior to feel that wonderful stretch through that side body. Exhale those hands to the mat, and we'll slide that front leg back as we come into our child's pose. Inhaling ourselves into our plank as we move through that half series. Exhale, lower down crocodile, hovering if we can. Inhale, let that belly come down. Press that chest forward, cobra. Exhale, push on back into our child's pose. With our inhale, we'll come up into table, and then we're going to step that left leg forward as we take that ankle past the knee and then slide the knee right over that ankle. Using our inhale to lift tall with those arms, warrior arms. Exhale those hands down to the mat. Let's curl that back toe under, lift off the knee and step forward into forward fold. Inhale, lifting up to our mountain. Exhale, we're going to sit back in a chair. Inhale, come into our mountain. Exhale, let's swan dive and forward fold as we come to the other side. This time taking our right leg back. And we might decide to take that knee down, or perhaps this time we're going to work with the knee off the mat. Walking our hands up the front leg and reaching tall. Exhale as those hands come down to the mat. Stepping back, this time into down dog. Using our inhale to lift through the hips and using our exhale to release through the heels, feeling the full down dog. With our next inhale, let's come into our plank. Exhale, lower down crocodile. Inhale as we open up to our upward facing dog. Exhale as we come into our downward facing dog. From here, we'll take that right leg forward for the lunge on this side and then walk those hands up that front leg as we reach tall. Exhale the hands down to the mat and step that back leg forward, forward fold. Inhale, lift all the way up to our mountain. Exhale, let's sit back in a chair. Inhale, come into our mountain. Let the palms come together. Exhale, bring our hands to our hearts. Thank you very much for joining me in that sun salutation. Let's take a look at that half series from a side view. We'll start off on our knees by bringing ourselves into our child's pose. Extending those arms forward as the head comes down to the mat, releasing through those hips. With our next inhale, we'll come forward into our plank on our knees. The shoulders right past those wrists. Hips are in place. Exhale, lower down crocodile as we hover above the ground. Inhale, let that belly come down and open through that chest, lifting through the chin, cobra. Exhale, pushing back into our child's pose. We can work with that series for several times, and then when we're ready, we might curl those toes under, keeping them right where they are on the mat, and then lifting the hips up as we lift to down dog. As we exhale, we release the heels towards the mat and take the ears between our biceps. With our next inhale, let's come forward into that plank as the shoulders right past the wrists. Exhale, lower down crocodile. We might flip those toes. And inhale, we lift that chest to upward facing dog. As we exhale, let's curl those toes and then press the hips back up to downward facing dog. Practicing this several times and then bringing the knees back down to the mat. Pressing our hips back to child's pose. Finding our breath here.